check. Looks good. Let me jump into Discord real quick. Make sure that Discord's capturing audio correctly. And that's as good as that check's gonna be until someone joins. Anyway, welcome to day 3 of the dev stream. I didn't pull up the design document. I should have done that. I got almost everything ready except that. So if we grab this document. So just to summarize what we've done the past 2 days. I am looking at my notes, yes, because I don't remember. So we made player blueprints for the night shift and the day shift, including separate controllers, so that way we can have custom logic in them. We implemented the gun, the projectile. We have a save game. We have a day shift level and this test level. This doesn't look like the test level, actually. Oh, I see what the issue is. Let's fix this before I forget and have to fight with this the whole session. Maps and modes. On editor startup, we want to open the test level, and by default, the game will open on the test level. Okay. Anyway, we have a day shift level. This test level is what we're testing the night shift game with. We have an item system, so that way when this enemy dies, they drop ingredients. I do need to change some of the logic in there, since yesterday I think we changed yeah, we made item ID 0 be no drops, and we don't want that. So let me correct this while I'm talking. Yesterday we also did we did some UI stuff. I don't think we did anything in the pause menu, but I'm gonna open it up just to check. Yeah, we did nothing in the pause menu. We did do some updates to the night shift game over screen. We added a background blur. We have 2 non-functional buttons still, but now the game will tell you how many ingredients you picked up and how many you now have in your stock. And I even had it communicate with our save game object, so that way as you progress through the game, it is actually counting and saving all the ingredients that you're collecting. We also made this little interface for making coffee. We can actually just demonstrate this real quick if I open up the right level. Day shift level, here we go. So let's say we want to make iced vanilla coffee. So we'll just do some ice. There's the ice. Vanilla, there's the vanilla. And there's the coffee, and look at that. Now, the one thing that we want to do with this system, and I think we'll do that today, is I want to make it to where if you have a minimum of 2 ingredients in here, there will be a button that says like serve coffee. And that will spawn the actual like coffee recipe, like finished product. So you can serve it to the customer, and then we need the customer to give us money in accordance to not only the price of the coffee, but we want to have a random percentage for the tip. Or actually, we can just do tips, because the price of the coffee doesn't really matter for this game. The other thing we need to do, because I realized this as I was going to bed of all times, because that's the best time to remember things. We have all these ingredients, and we have recipes in mind, but unfortunately the recipes don't take into account odd combinations like ice vanilla chocolate or ice milk chocolate, you know? So we're either needing, English. We either need to make new recipes to account for these, or we need to have a essentially a slush bad drink, and that decreases the income that you get. But we'll cross that bridge as we get there. So I think first we'll do the logic for the serve drink. And then I think for the rest of today, I'd like to work on the 3D models that we're going to need for this game. We're gonna have to open up Krita like we did yesterday to do some designing for some of the models, specifically the night shift weapon. But you know, hopefully it shouldn't take too long. In the interim, I need to put a button here and assign it some logic that says you're not visible until there's at least 2 in here. So how do we want to do this? Probably just on top of this, right? That's what I'm thinking. Unless we want to just say only 2 ingredients and then have that button served on top. Nah. Let's not change the design too much. So let's grab the button. Anchor it center. And let's make the button maybe 200 by 100. That's a decent sized button. We'll place it here. Yeah, that should be fine. Grab some text. We'll say serve drink. Actually, since this is all caps, we should make this all caps too. So, serve drink. Excuse me. I had coffee earlier, but maybe I need something more later. I want to make sure that text is not hit testable. And then we want to bind the visibility of this button to the ingredients vertical box. Let's call it that. Ingredients vertical box. So create binding. We should rename this button to serve drink. It's not letting me rename it. There we go. Serve drink button. Select. Visible and hidden. So what we'll do let me see the logic of the ingredient colors real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, sorry, 0 through 5. Okay, so really all we want is the, whoops. We want to make sure that ingredient ID 1 and ingredient ID 2, actually, just to make sure we did all this correctly, 0, 0, and 0. I know. Shoot. We want it probably this way. Okay, there's still something wrong. Oh shoot, so we added a none, but we didn't add it to our select node here. Did we do that for... Nope, we didn't do it for anything correctly. So let's fix that. Chocolate, espresso, milk, ice. And then what we'll do to just save us some time is just copy that. There we go. And then just do it one more time for this one. So now if we run it, now there's nothing in our cup, but now we can add stuff to our cup. Why is blue that color, or milk that color? We're gonna have to look into this. So milk in ingredient 3 is white. Milk in ingredient 2 is also white. Milk is ID 4. Oh, that's the issue. We didn't fix the enumeration in our event graph here. So we're going to have to do that for each button now. So coffee beans is actually going to be 1. Ice is 6. Ice is 6. Vanilla beans is 2. Chocolate beans is 3. Espresso beans is 4. Milk is 5. There we go. Okay, so now that that's taken care of, actually, I just realized the button was working correctly, wasn't it? Yep, as soon as there's a second ingredient, that's all you need. So what we actually need to do is just set up the logic to be actually what we want it to be. So as long as ingredient 2 is greater than, or yeah, just greater than 0. Maybe this is rich. Hold on. Take this out. Put this back in. So that works. That works. I guess it's already checking, like, as long as the second ingredient has been added, make the button visible. I guess the issue with this design, though, is that, sorry. It's something to do with, there's like a game design thing that I read about a long time ago where it was like, the first time a player interacts with a game mechanic is a tutorial. And if they don't know about a feature because the tutorial didn't encourage them to explore that, they won't know it's a feature. So they may not ever learn about this third ingredient thing. we can explore that later. We need the serve drink button to have a functionality. There it is. So let's just do the basic functionality that we know we need, which is to reset these ingredients to 0. Oh, we also need to set the recipe count to 0. So sets recipe count. Let's just do this in order. First, we want to make the recipe count 0. Recipe ID 1 to be 0. Ingredient ID 1 and 2 to be 0. So 0, 0, and 0. So now in theory, I can make a quick drink, hit serve drink, and then it'll let me reset the drink making process. So let's make iced milk coffee and serve it. Now I want an iced vanilla espresso. Serve that. Iced milk chocolate. Serve it. Look at that. Already fun combinations going on right there. How similar are these colors? Not very similar at all. Good. That's how I wanted it. Cool. So now we just need to make a functionality here. So what I want to do is I want to do a spawn actor from class, and I want to make a coffee actor that takes these values, right? And based on those values, it'll set its either its model or its material. We'll figure that out as we go. And then when you hit this button, when this spawns, it'll land on some kind of volume on the kitchen counter that we don't have modeled yet. But just imagine this is a coffee shop. I want it to be that the coffee cup lands on a volume sitting on the kitchen counter, and that triggers the NPC to collect their order. That's what I want to do, at least. We'll see if that's going to be possible shortly here. So let's make a coffee actor first. I believe I have something right here. Yeah, there's something here. So it looks like we have all of the actual recipes here. So what we need to do is communicate the recipe ID to this actor. Let's give it a basic model. That sure looks basic. Then we'll grab a cube, put it here. Let's just slide that a little bit. Okay, cool. So it's centered. And what we'll do is we'll put a cube on top, right? We'll grab that world location. So go to coffee instance. Make transform. Oh, I can't paste it. Okay. 423.20. Drag that down. Copy parent. Let's see if that works at the very least. Serve drink, spawn coffee. Look at that. Now what we want to do is enable gravity on this one. If I can even remember how that works. Simulate physics, probably. Ta-da! Now what we want to do is have its model be affected by that. So let's clear that. We'll do a sphere. I wonder if the coffee will. Because simulate physics is turned off here. Oh, enable gravity. So if we, let's say we do that, right? Okay, maybe that was too big. Okay, so that's not working. Oh, because now it has a model. Now it can simulate physics. Okay, so we just need a preview mesh to check off simulate physics. Yep, and that works too. Cool. So let's check if we can change the model based on the recipe. So we'll just check black coffee and iced coffee. We'll do cube. So now we need to come up with a way to communicate to this recipe ID thing. Which actually isn't hard, you know, just set recipe ID, bam. But we need to find a way to make these numbers mean something in the grand scheme of things. So we can't use this recipe ID count because this recipe ID count is just counting how far up the cup we are. We may need to do some math stuff. We're gonna need to do some math stuff. Oh boy. Let's open that enumeration. This one. And then let's do something silly here. Let's open up Notepad. Of course, you open way over there. Okay. So if we do black beans, let's say 3 times, that equals 3. But if we do black beans and vanilla, that also equals 3, right? Because 1 and 2. So this is going to be tricky. It's going to be very tricky. Let me pull up the recipes that we got going on again. This one. Coffee shop. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I have a recipe enumeration right here. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to assign point values to the recipe IDs so that way they make sense, right? So let's do black coffee. We could also notate that in the enumeration, you know? Just a thought. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. What if we make it to where you have to do it at least twice? So black coffee is 2 to 3 points. This is getting more complicated than I was expecting it to. Maybe I do need a notepad open. Okay. Black coffee should be in the range of, let's say, 2 to 3 points. If your coffee has 2 to 3 points, it's black coffee. Vanilla coffee is going to require vanilla beans and coffee beans. We should spell this out. Coffee beans times 2 or times 3. This is getting so complicated. What am I doing? Okay. Vanilla coffee should be coffee beans times 1. And vanilla beans times 2. And since vanilla beans are currently using item ID number 2, it should be 4 plus 1, which is 5 points. But if you add 1 vanilla bean, that'd be 3 points. What if it's 1 vanilla bean, which is 2? So yeah, 4 to 5 points. Man, I should have thought of this sooner. I should have thought of this so much sooner. What's the other recipe that's not iced? We'll come back to iced. Mocha coffee, which is chocolate beans and coffee beans. So mocha coffee equals coffee beans times 1 / times 2. Let's do that. Times 1 / times 2. Make that language uniform. Hell yeah. So we need coffee beans times 1 / times 2. And chocolate beans times 1 / times 2. Okay. Need water? So chocolate beans are item ID number 3. So at that point, they're basically 3 points. So that's going to be 6 plus 1 is 7. If you do 2 chocolate and 1 coffee bean, so that's 7 points. And if you do 2 coffee beans, which is 2 points, plus 3 is 5. Oh, we're going to have to come up with some more complex numbers, aren't we? Oh, no. Issue being that we can't have the numbers be too wild because the numbers are dictating these switch nodes. Not switch nodes. Oh, excuse me. These select nodes. Chocolate beans are 3. Six and 1. I mean, I could also make it to where, like, it has to be... Yeah, let's do that. It has to be more coffee than the other ingredient. And then we'll just make it to where if you do more of this ingredient than coffee, it'll be like, I don't know, sugar drink or something. We can revisit this. I'm just nervous. So let's just say 4 points. Because 2 plus 2, yeah, that's 4. So that's 2 plus 3, that's 5. 5 points. Espresso. Espresso. We'll say it's come on. Coffee beans and espresso beans. Or actually, we just want it to be espresso, huh? Maybe we should drop espresso and just make it like an energy shot for additional caffeine. We can explore that later. Did we only have one recipe that included milk? We can change that. Because we could make milk coffee. Coffee beans times 2. And milk times 1. Yeah, let's temporarily drop espresso real quick. Coffee beans. Yeah, let's make our notes match each other here. Coffee beans times 2 or times 3. Coffee beans times 2 and ice times 1. I don't want to get too stuck on this, but we really do need to get this fleshed out. Milk coffee. Okay. 2 to 3 points. Coffee beans times 2 and vanilla beans times 1. And this should be 4 points. What's Ice's ID again? 6. So that's 6 plus 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So that's 9 points. Maybe we should make it to where Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Can I not remove this? There's a way to remove pins. You know what? We'll just hold off on that. We'll just take it off, and we'll just put a generic select node here, and we'll come back and fix it later. What we do need to do is go back to our UI, serve drink button, and we'll actually set it to be ingredient 3. Ta-da! Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that was working. We're also going to have to make something that tells... Nah, we'll just make the customers come fast enough to pick up their drink. So, how to do this? How to do this? I might want to map this out in like Krita or something. Or actually, can I make an Excel in Unreal? There's a way to do that. I know there is. Hold on. Editor utilities? No. No, no. No. Huh? Oh shoot, it wants to do it based on a struct. Do I have 2 item pickup structs? No, I have only 1. What? Whatever. Okay, so I don't want the composite table. I want an actual data table. That's my issue. Miscellaneous. Data table. I don't think this is it either, actually. Maybe? No, this isn't it. This is so complicated. I think I'll just open up Krita and then we'll just go from there. So we'll go to Krita. Or is Krita the one I want? No, it's not. Ah, shit, what do I want to do? Miscellaneous. How about this? We'll mess around in the... We'll make a new function. Call it recipe. And we'll just mess around in here until we figure out what we're doing here. Or actually, no, we can do something even smarter. Hold on. So we're communicating with the coffee parent already, right? So all we really need to do is say ingredient 1. Set that to be an integer first before we continue, actually. Duplicate ingredient 2, ingredient 3. So, based on that, and then for my sake, I'm going to put this recipe window over here on my other monitor so I can stare at it. Okay. So what we want to do is just make a print string. This will be our impromptu table. So let's say we want black coffee. Our IDs would need to be 1, 1, and 1. This is so dumb. We can also just do this. Ta-da! Okay, so black coffee looks like that. This is what vanilla coffee's points would look like. Might be smarter to have the recipe enum, actually. Not recipe enum, item enum. Chocolate should look like this. It's not chocolate coffee, it's mocha. If we use espresso, it would look like this. If we use espresso as like an ingredient rather than like the base of the coffee. Milk should look like this. And iced coffee should look like this. So now what we can do is we can now see the point value. So that's 8 points. This is 7 points. 6, 5, 4, 3. Now we have our recipe values. So now, instead of this, we'll do get this plus this plus this. And then there's got to be a way to do there's probably a way to do like a select node. Not a select node. That's not it either. A switch on enum based on these values. We can come back to this. We do need to define these points though. So if I grab the recipe enum, I'm going to reset that enumeration. And we'll do it based on this. So black coffee is going to be 3 coffee beans, which is 3 points. We're going to do a vanilla coffee, which should be coffee beans times 2 plus vanilla beans times 1, which is 5 points. Nope, 4 points. Gonna do a mocha coffee, which is coffee beans times 2 plus mocha beans times 1. That one is 5 points. Then we'll do an espresso coffee, which will be coffee beans times 2 plus espresso beans times 1. That is 6 points. I'm gonna pour myself some more water. There we go. All right. After espresso coffee is milk coffee. Coffee beans times 2, milk times 1. That's 7 points. Iced black coffee. Should be coffee beans times 2, ice times 1. So saying all that, right? Saying all that, I'm kind of wondering if it would be better to define these as strings in the coffee parent, and then just say, is it XYZ? Branch it from there. Hold on. String. No. Let's just work with what we got. If we need to change the system to support this, then that can be done. Like, for example, maybe we have these buttons grayed out until 2 coffees are poured, or something to that extent. We can figure it out. For now, I do want to just see if this is communicating correctly to parent blueprint, or if we can change these models. It's more accurate. So let's start with excuse me. We'll just do a simple branch here. Let's put this to the side. Just grab the recipe ID again. And we'll just ask, is it greater than or equal to, no, we'll just do greater than. Are you greater than 3 points? And then let's change, actually, one thing at a time. Set static mesh to be cone. And then if false, set static mesh as can we do a generic sphere? Basic shapes. And then let's just see if that really does exist. Cool. And then we'll just change this to be something completely different, just so that way we can know the difference. So we'll do a cube. Right? So if it doesn't work, we'll see a cube. If it works, we'll see either a sphere or a cone. Wait, hold on. We didn't even communicate. So drag these out. And we'll do grab that, and grab that. We'll add these all together. That'll be the recipe ID. Okay, so we see a sphere, so that means that's working. 1, 2, 3. I see a sphere. So something's not going right. So recipe ID greater than 3. What if we change this to greater than or equal to 4? Two, 3. Still a sphere. Or actually, hold on. No, it being a sphere is correct. We want to check. Okay, so that's the issue. The recipe ID is not going through correctly because it is greater than equal to 4. So it should have turned into a cone, but it's not. It's still turning into a sphere. Let's tweak this to 1. See what that does. Okay, so that's not working. I'm not sure why this is having an issue. sphere. Okay. Hold on, what? Two? Hmm. Yeah, it's just not changing recipe ID. Because if I make it equal to 0, then yeah, it'll be changing the static mesh. Interesting. That does put an interesting issue into my plan here. What if we do cast to copy parent and then plug that in? Still not working. Note, return value is already a copy parent. You don't need to cast. Yeah, I thought so. I thought that would be weird. Interesting. Interesting. So something about this is not transferring correctly. Maybe because it's a branch at event begin play? No, because there's other things that do that. Yeah, if we don't get this corrected, we're going to be in huge trouble. What if instead of having the coffee parents decide all this, we just spawn something different depending on what ingredient points are there? It's not great, but it is something we can do. So let's do this. We have a coffee parent. Make a new folder. Call it coffee actors. Wait a second. Enemy blueprint. Test child. It's not going to be in the test child. It's going to be in the enemy parent. Yeah, just literally spawn. Make the item number. Scroll to that. Whoops. Go back. 111. That should be 3. Could it be because... Hold on. If this fixes it, that would be insane. But branch. Recipe ID. Greater than or equal to 4. Set static mesh. Sphere. And cone. Nope, that didn't fix it. That's frustrating. I was thinking that maybe this was clearing too fast. So I put this delay here. I'm sure even if we put it to 1 second, right? So that's what it's supposed to be if it's coffee. Yep, still spawns a sphere. It's supposed to be a cone. So that's not the issue. The coffee parent just does not want to acknowledge that its recipe ID is higher than 4 for some reason. What else can we do to make this work? It's actually a good opportunity just to make sure that the enemy spawning logic is actually working as intended too, actually. Because if it's not working for the coffee parent, it's probably going to have issues with the item parent. So let's set some values here. Enemy parent, what is it called? Item drop number? Oh, you can't do it from here, can you? Or is it because it's a test child? So I think the item parent, I have it currently set to 3. Set. Oh wait, I don't have to do it here. I can just class defaults. Item drop number 1. Did I not open? Did it change the game mode? It did. World override, select game mode, night shift. Vanilla beans. Oh, right. Item parent, here we go. So it's actually in the night character. Yep, the item pickup struct is having issues, I think. Okay, I mean, the enemy seems to be communicating with the actor, item parent, just fine. Yeah, we haven't even done anything here yet. Oh, God. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. Why won't you spawn a cone? Wrong level. Again. Levels. Day shift level. Save. What if I do... Let's come back to this. We're going to get stuck on this all day if we don't do something. So let's save all. We should try to make the coffee stuff. So real quick. So these are our coffee recipes right now. Three, four, five, six, seven, eight. So what if we just say... I know I just said we're going to get stuck on this, but I just thought of something. In range, 3, and what was the other score? 3 to 8. If it is, it'll be a cone. If it's not, it'll be a sphere. So that should mean if we do this, we should get a cone. Still doesn't work. Never mind. Okay. Clearly the branches is some kind of an issue. Right? What if we just do this? Let's make it simple. Just print the string for me. Break this. Is it at least reading that the value has changed? 0. 0. Okay. So the recipe ID is not even being transported correctly. Why is that? Let's break this. 1, 2, 3. 0. Still reading 0. Set recipe ID. Is it because it's being spawned? No, because item parent is doing the same thing, right? Or actually, in the case of item parent, we're going to test something. levels, test level. If the item is only really getting its ID when it's talking to our player character, that could be an issue. Zero, one. Yeah, so it's only actually acknowledging event begin play is too early. That's what I'm seeing. So what if we do delay? Oops. Delay. One. Okay, so that's the issue. It is spawning, and it's spawning without that information. So levels, day shift, 3. So now, in theory, aha. Okay. So can we set this to be really, really fast? Greater than or equal to 4. We fixed it. Wow. That sure was. That sure was. I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, I'm glad I fixed it. Okay. Let's make sure this still works. Cool. Alrighty. That should be fine. Coffee mechanics are working as intended. What we really need to do is find a way to math out this recipe system and make models. Making models is probably going to be the priority. The real question is, how do I want to do this? Blender, probably. Let's close this. We don't need Steam VR. I believe I have Blender over here somewhere. Here we go. Any day now, Blender. General, please. We'll make a blend file called coffee stuff. All right, so first of all, we should make a coffee cup. So Shift A, mesh, circle. It's not actually what I want. I want a plane that's a circle. What's torus? I mean, that kind of works. I kind of want it to be a little more low poly, though. There's a way to do that with the modifier, right? Edit, deform. Where's it generate? Reduce geometry density. Let's try that. It might be faster if I just do this by hand. So let's start with a plane. We will, where is it? Oh, I know. Edit mode. Now subdivide. And then I want to add a mirror modifier. Perfect, perfect. All right, so then we'll just take these corners here. Then we'll do this. Okay, and then select all. We'll extrude it. Just like that. And then deselect this one. Yeah. And then we'll extrude out just a little bit. We're gonna need to fix these vertices here. Oh shoot, we're gonna have to do a lot more than that, huh? Undo that. I just want this one and this one. Cool, and then we'll grab these vertices. Including their interior ones, actually. We'll extrude up. Oh, why are you doing that? Let's do wireframe. What are we looking at here? Are these not aligned? They're not aligned. It's not perfect, but we'll make do. We should probably... There's a lot going wrong here, actually. So much going on wrong here. Let's grab these. Actually, let's delete these. These should be connected. These should be connected. These should be connected. We'll fill those. There we go. And then just grab all of these vertices here. There we go. That was my issue. I didn't actually press the right thing. how tall do we want this? Let's say the coffee cup is here, right? There we go. It's a decent looking coffee cup. And then just for some nice little touches, we'll do no, that's not what I want to do. I want to do well, first of all, I want to fill this gap here. There we go. We're getting somewhere. Two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. There we go. So now what I want to do is, if you've seen like those gas station like styrofoam cups, they have like a little portion at the top that comes out and goes up, and that's what holds the lid. That's what I want to do next. So I think we'll need to highlight all these, right? Extrude them up just a hair. Hold on, is that what I want to do? Kinda. Let's do a little bit like that. We'll correct these vertices here. Then we'll just grab the remaining vertices on this surface. Not you. Extrude them up a little bit. Yeah, that kind of looks like a cup. I'd say that's a success. So now what I want to do is just kind of export. Well, I don't want to export it. I want to texture it first. But texturing is the one thing I'm not good at in Blender. So first we need to, is it edit mode? Edit mode. Select all vertices. Smart, okay, smart UV project. I don't think we need to change anything in here. Unwrap. UV editing. Aha, there we go. So that's our UV. I just want to add a really simple color. I don't really want to do anything crazy here. So there's a way to do this. There's a way to do this. What is the way to do this? New texture? I don't think that was it. Oh, texture slots. There we go. Material, base color, 1024 by 1024, alpha, generated type, generate grid to test UV mappings, color grid. I think blink is fine. We'll call it cup. Texture. There we go. So now in theory, and it's not letting us draw. Or if it is, I'm not seeing it. Let's choose a wild color. Yeah, it's not letting me draw on this. At the same time, this is kind of an okay color to go with for the cup, but I need to be able to color for when we do the actual coffees. Texture paint. Okay, that's not it either. Here we go. So that's not it. Yeah, I don't know why it's not letting me draw on here, but it's whatever. Oh, we can export this cup for now. So export FBX is the default stuff for Unreal. Call it cup. All right, let's see if we can import this to Unreal real quick. So items, we'll call it models. Import. Import. Oh, yeah, looks like it kind of worked. So there's our cup. Oh, you know what'd be smart? If we add a, shoot, what's it called? The little cardboard thing that wraps around the cups to protect your hands for when it's hot. Can we change the colors in here? We can. So maybe for the coffee stuff, we'll just make a model, give it a basic texture, and then we'll just use this change the color of it. So I think we can make this easy by just doing, what am I thinking of? Grab these vertices. Oh, hold on. I'm getting distracted by things on the side here. Yeah, we're fine. Okay, so grab these vertices here. Subdivide. Then just grab these vertices here. Move them up a little bit. Then just angle this correctly. Grab these vertices. Yep, and then subdivide here. Grab these again. And then just extrude. Actually, delete these. All right, cool. What if we just do extrude? It kind of worked. Kind of not. What if I just do that? This might be more work than I need to do, honestly. Let's a basic cup is fine. We can do something different later. So we got a coffee cup. We need to make the stuff inside the coffee cup. So we'll need to go to object mode. Then I think what we'll do is copy paste this model a little bit. We don't need to do much to change this. There we go. And then all we need to do is just get rid of everything that is above the foundation of the cup. So if I do this and just deselect these vertices here, and then just to make sure that's working as intended, how did I do it before? Texture paint. New base color. We'll make this base color something pretty obvious. And call it coffee. Does not seem to be applying that. There we go. Just change this to coffee. There we go. So now what I want to check is object mode. Almost. Maybe just downsize it a little bit. There we go. We now have our base coffee thing, so now all we need to do is just drop it down to the bottom. Here's what we'll do actually. Get rid of, yeah, get rid of that. Or actually, no, we didn't need to do that. We could just do connect, subdivide. Connect it like that. Then just grab this. Look at that. Then just boom. We have a cup of coffee. So the next thing to do should raise it a little higher. Maybe to there? Nah. Because if we wireframe it, this is where it goes out a little bit. And we definitely don't want to have there be gaps at the top, even if the player won't really see it. Better to not have it. So I think the next thing we want to do is export this as is. Excuse my voice. So all we need to do is export FBX. We're going to do selected objects, and we'll call this coffee liquid. Let's see if we can't get this into Unreal. Did it not capture the color? That's unfortunate. But it does mean that we can do something interesting here. Because we did not save the colors from the coffee interface. Excuse me. Ingredient color, here we go. Rename. Black coffee. New theme. Rename. Vanilla. Name to chocolate. New theme, rename. Espresso. New, rename. Milk. And then for ice, we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to save the color, because that's going to be important. Ice. Let's go to coffee parent. Get that cup. That is huge. Okay, so let's get rid of, well, not get rid of the cube, but we do need to change it. Coffee. So now what I want to see is if we can change the material of the coffee. Set material. Nope. There's a way to do this. I just don't know what it is yet. Get material. Aha. Get material. And then base. Color? No? Can I cast to the material? Cast to... There's got to be some way I can do this, and I'm just not sure what it is. Unless... No, I didn't think so. I know there's a way to do this. I'm just not picking it up. Vector parameter value. I don't think that's it. It's definitely not it. Just not sure. Maybe I can just make copies of the material and then just make different colors of it. So maybe if I duplicate it and call this black coffee, for example. Oh, that didn't work. Then go to coffee parent and do set material coffee. I mean, it worked. Something went wrong here though. So let's close that. Oh, right, I have the change static mesh thing still on. Okay, they're spawning outside of each other. Why? Let's do this. Just because I know how it works. Oh, it needs a socket name. Right. That's not how that works at all. What if I do... Don't simulate physics. That worked better. That worked much better. So now what I want to do is I want to scale this down. Let's do 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. That's still huge. I guess that makes sense. Save. Widget. Point 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. We're gonna need to raise the camera if I want to see what's going on in there. I'm gonna have to go to the player blueprint, go to day shift, go to day shift character, go to here, go to camera, raise it up just a little bit. Not quite. Let's make this 200 and see what happens. I can see the coffee. Cool, so that's kind of working. And then let's do, if it's false, do material. Is it not called material 002? I thought it was called material 002. Underscore 002. Well, in that case, let's just duplicate this, close this, close this. Let's make this something that stands out. Vanilla should be fine. Apply. Rename this to vanilla coffee material. Let's see how that works. Yep, there it is. Then do something ridiculous. And it's coffee. All right. Functionality is in place, kind of. We got some models going. The other thing we're gonna probably want to do is we need to model the coffee machine. That's for sure. Let's log what we have done today, actually. So today's day 03, June 22nd. So what did we do today? First, we went to the coffee interface. Coffee interface. I think that's the only thing we did, right? Serve drink functionality. Implemented serve drink button. Only appears when all 3 ingredients are added. Resets ingredient ID and recipe count once pressed. Yeah. We fixed the we implemented changing colors of coffee liquid depending on recipe ID. That's not in the coffee interface. We did that in the coffee parent. Coffee parent BP. Changing colors of coffee. Modeling. Modeled a coffee cup and imported to Unreal. Modeled coffee liquid and imported to Unreal. And then we began editing coffee liquid materials to reflect flavor of coffee. Save. Nothing else in this level, nothing else in this level. Okay, so I'm going to add a note here on the design document about what we still need to do for today. 1 second. We need to model the coffee machine. To match coffee interface. We need to model the tip jar. We also need to add functionality to that tip jar. What else do we need to do? We might need to model the cafe itself. I do have the cafe environment for the pre-stream video and the intermission video, but it might be fun to just make a new cafe if we have the time to do so. What else do we need to model? It would be fun to model some of the NPCs, like the human NPCs that you're serving coffee to. We might use Vroid Studio for that, because I do have a plugin for importing VRM models, or I can just use an FBX export from Blender. I'll just put model NPCs, maybe 3. And we also do need to model our barista. Ooh, we also need to model the gun and projectiles for night shift. We need to do the coffee bean enemies. We need to do the enemies in general. I'll just say enemies, and then we'll come back to that. Let's see. Cafe, coffee stuff, machines. Let's leave the modeling to that. We need to do the level design for night shift. So we'll need to do terrain editing, foliage editing. I spelled foliage wrong. There we go. What else will we need to do? I guess we would need to animate some of the models if we have the time today. We could also do that later this week. Animate models for, not just animate models. And then I'll make a list of animations later. For now, though, I'm going to go on a brief lunch break. Yeah, brief lunch break. We'll pick back up where we left off here. But yeah, I'll be